Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming along today. So we're here to talk about how we can automate processes to help save ourselves time and money. And when we have saved time, that means we can focus on the real value in our business and use money to invest in it. A little bit about me. I'm a data and AI specialist. I have been proudly automating things since I was 12. From the beginnings of my first MySpace page through to using Excel macros to cut out about 8 weeks of work for 10 people in Swalek, which got me fired. It was a temp job. That taught me a valuable lesson about bringing people with you on your automation journey, through to now I help manufacturers think about how they can be using data and AI to improve their operations. You're very welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, email, and of course you'll have the follow-up link afterwards to book in a chat with me. This was Emerging Tech Fest in Llandudno, this picture, where one of the last conferences that we got to speak at in person before COVID. And yeah, so it's always kind of I love helping people learn, and I've probably delivered more than 10,000 hours now of hopefully inspiration to do better at technology. So the reason why I'm focusing in on automation is in big part because of COVID. Beforehand, businesses were getting more digital, there's a lot of kind of bringing in things like e-commerce sites, starting to do digital supplier management, some bits of Internet of Things to kind of like for the bigger stores to track like who moves through a store. But smaller businesses were still really focused on the day job and getting their core business model delivered in the same way that they did it before. In COVID, we've had to work in a different way. And this has meant that more businesses have digitally transformed in the past year than they had in the past decade or so. And from a small business perspective, Small Business Britain recently found that more than half of small businesses, have had to increase their digital skills, and overwhelmingly, with more than 75% of businesses saying that it enhanced their business or significantly enhanced it. So there's a ton of value to be gained from going digital and automating processes and using the new technologies that we can get kind of off the shelf through software as a service and building our own to be able to bring a lot of value to our organization. And it's really key because there's tons and tons of data that shows, particularly in the manufacturing sector, that businesses who are digitally transforming have 2/3 higher revenue growth than their competitors who aren't digitally transforming. Like, the investment in improving your processes and bringing in these new technologies helps you compete in an outsized way compared to slower competitors. So I'm talking about automation, and when I think about automation, it is using a system to perform a task that was previously fully done by humans. It doesn't have to be a linear process, so it doesn't that you're automating. It doesn't just have to be, I take this email and I upload it to the system. It can have different outcomes. It can use human steps and AI steps to, for instance, read the email, decide that it's a negative, like it's a customer complaint, and route it through to customer services. Or if it's a happy email, load it in to the standard CRM system where you keep track of all your contacts with people. So you can make it as complicated as your business needs to be able to bring a process in. And it doesn't have to involve simply replacing humans, but reducing the scope of what humans have to do. This increases quality, speed of processes, and resiliency of your organization to things like the office flooding, so your staff can't get to their tech, or COVID, where your staff can't get into the office. Another key area that I'm super keen on when we're thinking about automation is how we can use it to also help people do their jobs more effectively. How can we augment your staff so that they are the most valuable asset in your organization? How do you give them more time to go out and get those extra sales, to think about new ways of managing the production line? How do we give them the scope and capabilities to do more with the same amount of time? So when we augment our staff, we use automation or we bring insights into their day-to-day role. And the whole point is to assist them in doing what they do faster so that they can have more time to do other things. My general rule of thumb when you're thinking about these things is automate the day-to-day boring stuff. Like, you can't get rid of it, but it's not necessarily where the value is, and augment your staff to deliver the important stuff more effectively. So automate boring, augment interesting and important. There's different ways that we can do this, and they're not all kind of direct. You might not think of all of these. So one of the areas that you can automate is giving common information to customers, employees, or potential customers. So an FAQ chatbot is a chatbot that will answer commonly asked questions. The great thing about this as an automation example is it actually augments your customer. The person needs information. They want to be able to make a decision quickly. And previously, your process would have meant that they would have had to go through an extended contact cycle. Somebody would have had to have picked it up, decided the right response, brought it back, and then the person, once they eventually checked their emails, would have had to then process it. And by then, they probably forgot what they were originally interested in. So the chatbot automates away from your perspective as the business all those boring but important contact requests for repeated information, but augments your customer to make decisions more quickly. You can improve your accounts payable processes by scanning invoices that come in, whether scanned physical invoices or ones that come in on email, and automatically uploading them to your bookkeeping software and your bank batch payment process so that your accounts team can focus on chasing more late creditors, late debtors, and being able to improve the compliance and making sure that, you know, all the supplier conduct pieces that you might be thinking about are fully implemented. On the augmentation side, we can do things that help staff do real valuable things, but without them having to spend lots of manual effort on getting the information ready. So one thing that we're quite keen on for businesses is social media listening. So it's particularly effective in a B2C space, but we can be looking at Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook for trends on things like key hashtags for our business, but we can also be using it to monitor the mentions of our business, perform sentiment analysis to see whether people are happy with our business, and then actually be able to route any issues to our customer service or marketing team to immediately fix. When we improve that time to uncover a problem for a customer and resolve it quickly, that is such a huge long-term loyalty and customer growth opportunity for us. We can also help our staff be better at meetings. We cannot get away from meetings, and Zoom fatigue has been a real big issue for many of us. So you can see right now that I have live subtitles in Welsh on my PowerPoint. It's not just available to translate into Welsh. I can translate from about 30 languages into 30 or 60 other languages. It's great from an accessibility perspective because now staff who have hearing issues or processing issues of speech over a long period of time can get captions to help them understand, but it also helps us work in a multinational setting. For free, you get this Babel fish that enables you to operate across Europe. Who would not want that additional capability for their sales team or their operations team? And similarly, we can be using artificial intelligence and automation to be improving the way that our sales team reach out to new leads, to improve our customer relationship management, and be able to predict when people are going to pay their bills. So there's some really great ways that we can get value out of technology to help us improve our interactions inside our business and to our external stakeholders and people that we get involved with. So free up staff time. Work smarter, not harder, and use that staff time to innovate in your business. I've mentioned AI and things like sentiment analysis a little bit. I just want to make sure that we're talking about artificial intelligence, not artificial insemination. I did get into that confusion with an agri-tech business, but we quickly started talking about the Internet of Horny Cows, and we can talk about that during Q&A. But we can use artificial intelligence as a way of mimicking human capabilities. So we all know that software can perform things with predefined inputs, perform an action, and get a known output. But as humans, we're able to work in that fuzzier situation of dealing with text that people type, with speech that we hear, and the things that we see. We know that a baby goes from having no data about the world to hearing us speak around them, to distill that, reason that into speech, and be able to learn to talk. That kind of abstraction from data that we see in the world to a set of rules or capabilities is where AI really shines. So you might already be doing a fair amount of automation in your business, but it might be quite rigid. So artificial intelligence can help you start adding that accounting for fuzziness in your business. Can help you change the way you interact so that it isn't quite so strict, so that you can make decisions or get processes happening more quickly. And if you're not a big data organization, like you don't have lots of data visualization happening with a data team, that's fine. because you can buy systems with AI inside. So you can get your CRM with Sales AI. You can buy an add-on to your Hootsuite to do social listening. You don't need to be concerned about building all of these things from scratch, because automation tools and systems are increasingly leveraging AI to help you do things that automate processes and augment your system. So make a strategic investment in tools to help you take a big leap forward without needing to dedicate too much staff time to understanding and building these things yourself. It's great me telling you that you should automate, but fundamentally you need to know how you should automate. So the first thing that you need to do is prioritize. There is no point doing something, whether it's an automation effort or building a new product or contacting someone, if it doesn't add value. So we can think about our business and think about the different areas where we might have long lead times, wasted resources, frustrations, risk, and we can start prioritizing which areas would benefit most from automation. And on a personal level, that might be, which bits of your day do you hate the most? Is it scrolling your inbox? Well, perhaps you could do you could set up a little bit of automation to triage them for you before you get there. So think about the processes, the things that are in your day job, your department, your company, and prioritize them. And this is really good as a group exercise. When you start getting people thinking about the areas of their job that they can improve, and that you're bringing them along in that journey by giving them the agency to improve it, you help speed up transformation inside your business and reduce the amount of resistance. Because fundamentally, people want to keep earning their cash. And if we started automating things and doing them out of a job, then they're really going to be resistant to automation and improvement. But if we're helping them drive the automation so that their job is augmented, so that they can go and do something better, something extra, then they come with us. And that's how we want to do things. So the first step, prioritize, discuss, draw up a list. The next thing to do is draw the process. If you don't know how something works, you can't automate it. And you might not even need to automate it when you draw it out. You might go, oh, that's stupid. Why do we have it going over there to QA to come back to the manufacturing line, to go back to QA and then back to the manufacturing line? Could we have it go through the process and come back and just go to QA the once? It doesn't have to be a technology solution to improve a process. You can think about people first as a way of solving things. And that's where the discussion comes in. So once you've got something down that describes how it works, you can look at it, you can discuss options, you can think about solutions. Then you make it so, you channel your inner Star Trek captain, and you actually implement the process. Usually that means acquiring the new pieces of technology or documenting the change, configuring the new bits and pieces, and testing it out on a small scale, and then rolling it out to more people. And then don't forget to monitor it. What gets measured gets done. And if we don't make sure that the things we've done actually improve the situation, then we can inadvertently make our business worse off through automation. Because a bad thing or a wrong thing automated means that bad thing or wrong thing happens very quickly and more often, and we don't want that. So these are just kind of your framework, which you hang your process on for building change inside your organization. Now, I did this when I set up my first company, which was a consultancy. Lots of people want to book meetings with me. Most of them are paid in terms of kind of consultancy work. And I've seen it all the time where people spend so many hours going back and forth with their emails on scheduling. Can you do 10:30 at blah, blah, blah? No, can you do 11:30? And it just like, it eats your time. At the time, it was myself, and I needed to cover the bills for myself and my partner. I couldn't waste non-billable time, and I couldn't waste potentially billable time on all that boring back and forth and administration. So I started looking at the process, and this is a really rough sketch because it doesn't have to be perfect. You only have to just get it down, and you don't have to worry about the look and feel. So the interactions in the process were between me and my customer. We would send emails to book a meeting back and forth. Then we'd settle on a meeting, and that would kick off a number of processes. I would have to send a calendar invite. I would have to create a contract and get that sent and signed. I'd need to create an invoice, and then we'd have to get cash in the bank somehow. So I drew out my process. What did it look like? I then started thinking about how technology could help me with these different bits and pieces. So could I use the booking? Could I use an online calendar system to help people book a meeting and get a calendar invite instead of me having to do it? And if I can I take a card payment right there and then so I get paid before I even rock up to the meeting? Once that happens, once that meeting's been agreed, then can I integrate, can I automatically instruct my bookkeeping software to raise an invoice and send it? And could I get that contract generated for me and sent across? This way, the customer's already paid, they've got their invoice that they as a follow-up, and the contract's across for them to sign. Now, none of this process would be involved, would have me in it, and the customer wouldn't have to sit through all those emails to time to book the conversation. I was able to do this. I used Calendly to be able to make it immediately bookable on my website to get some consultancy time. And behind the scenes, it uses Zapier to talk to my Underdocs contract platform, my Xero bookkeeping software, and of course it integrates with Stripe so that I get the money deposited in my bank quite nicely. I first of all documented, then I approached and discussed what technologies could help, then I implemented it, and then I would monitor it to make sure that all the values fed through this process correctly and that it was working for people. We've done other automations inside our business, and this is a little one that required no code. The other one didn't either, but PR is great to have, right? If you can get mentions in papers, you sound super swish. Excellent and important as a startup, but for any business, brand awareness is a key to long-term success. So we started looking for tweets with the journal request hashtag and modifiers like data science and AI and manufacturing to be able to hone in on the journalist requests for potential quotes and sources. And they would email Ruth, my co-founder, so that she could check them. If it's relevant, immediately contact the journalist. So within less than 5 minutes from a journalist tweeting that they need an AI specialist to sit to support their article, we could be DMing them to say, hey, we're here to help. When we're doing all of this, it is a new world if you're not up on technology. So I just wanted to cover a couple of the things that you might encounter so that you have a little bit of a glossary and a starting point for when you're thinking about the tech pieces of the process automation. So stuff that you'll see a lot. First is data, whether it's a spreadsheet or a database or a third-party platform. Your business runs on data. Data is how everybody makes decisions, whether it's data that they have in their head because it's not written down, or data that is in a spreadsheet or a report or something. The information about what happens is really critical. So that's an area where we find people need to invest time in making sure that's quality. Like we said earlier, a project automated badly, a bad process automated is a bad process running at scale. Then we have events. Everything that happens in your business can be thought of as an event. A new product is created, a sale happens, a marketing qualified lead reaches out to you. Each of these is an event, and we can track events and manage how people flow through different types of events. And then API. APIs are basically web pages for computers to talk to each other. You don't have to have all the fancy formatting that makes it nice for humans, but it's the way that computers can move data from one source to another. So you'll quite often need to start using APIs, whether directly or inside a user interface, to get data about business events from one system, like your CRM system, into another system to support automation. And when we start doing that automation, you need to think about three things typically. Triggers. So how do you know something when something happens? For an event, what is the trigger? When a sale happens, the trigger might be there is an order placed in your inventory, in your ERP system. That new order record in your data would be your trigger. Then your connectors. What ways do you have of communicating with your different systems? So you might have a Hubspot connector, a Xero connector. You might need to use a database connector to be able to write some data into a local database. And then conditions. How do you easily say, if this happens, then do that, otherwise do this? So you need to think about the boundaries of decisions and processes so that you can make conditions explicit. Tools that you can use to do this automation do not require code. You might need code later on, but you can totally get started without it. So here is Power Automate. It's a Microsoft tool. You can get started with it for free. And there's even a desktop application that you can install to automate tasks that could only run from your desktop. And you can describe what you need to do. So in this case, when a new tweet is present with our search text, make sure it's a new tweet, get information about them, and send Ruth an email. If it's not a new tweet, don't bother, don't do any other action. So we have a trigger, a new tweet, which is an event. We have conditions, is it a new tweet? And if yes, perform an action. And we extract data and we send it somewhere else. And you'll get these slides, and these are links to information so that you can get started more quickly. Another very popular and quality tool is Zapier. And I use Zapier as well as Power Automate. In this example, this is my first consultancy booking solution. So my event, an invitee created, I have conditions, and then I have steps for it to go through and perform actions to integrate my data and process through my different systems. Again, staff need to be comfortable that they will continue having a role in the company. If people are worried about being replaced, they're going to be highly resistant to that. And staff and your data really are your biggest assets. It's worth keeping both where possible. So your challenge, and I do this firmly on the whole medical process, learning path process. Learn one, do one, teach one. So first of all, draw a process that happens in your business or in your day job and start learning about the ways that you could automate that with some of the tools we've mentioned, but also some that might be specific to you. Then do an automation. Give a no-code tool a go. They also have a whole bunch of templates, so you might not even need to code it. You might not even need to drag and drop from scratch. There might be something that, for instance, takes your company's blog RSS feed and uses it to post an update in a industry-specific forum whenever you have a new blog post. And finally, show someone else how to do this. Make it happen for somebody else so that they get the bug for improving their day job and their business process. You can follow up with me about any of these stages, about the progress, or any of the things mentioned today around AI, automation, and augmentation, and we'll make sure that link is out to you. But these are the things I want you to do. Learn, do, teach. We're helping people do this as well with Go Smarter and bringing in a bunch of tools. But I just want to leave it with you that you can be using off-the-shelf tools, not just from us, but from people like Zapier, people like Microsoft, lots of startups that can help you improve your processes. You're not alone, and there's tons of support out there for you for doing this change. Thank you all very much. And hopefully we have time for questions.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Steph. If anyone wants to bring any questions in the chat, I will relay those to Steph. One thing I was going to ask is if you could quickly explain Zapier a little bit more, just because for me that's my go-to tool in terms of automating stuff, and how you can just, because a lot of us will be familiar with Google Sheets or with Gmail or these kind of mass market products that most of us use on a regular basis. But what happens? So you have lots and lots of different things that you can plug in Zapier. Like there's pretty much anything on the web that you use already, like say Calendly, Slack, Google Sheets, Gmail, whatever. Can you just explain a little bit about how that works and give a couple of use case examples?
Sure. I'm gonna show my full screen briefly.
Yeah, because it's certainly my go-to tool in terms of automating stuff. Great, we'll have a quick look here.
So you can create your accounts with anything really. Hopefully this is my...
You've got two-factor. Okay.
Okay. So you can create an account And then very nicely, they start actually recommending stuff. So we do a lot with Hubspot, so we can use Hubspot connectors. There's always tweeting, and there's loads more ideas. You can, I should probably start doing this more, things like helping, acknowledging people's birthdays and work changes and things like that. It's a little thing that could buff my relationships with people. So what I could do now.
Could you build a thing that set for example, then could you build a quick zap for me that is anytime anyone tweets the word Neil Cocker, that I get an email, or that you get an email, more importantly.
So I'm going to be courageous, and I'm going to do this from scratch.
Yeah, this is a live demo. I'm forcing you to do this.
Live, completely
it's a nice, simple
demo.
one to do.
When any user creates a new tweet with a mention. So we had different types of triggers. We now have to sign in. This is going to be a
sorry to make you do this on the fly.
I've got multi-factor authentication on this as well. It will, oh, I'm already authenticated on Zapier, so it should be okay. So now I set up my trigger. So I'm now going to, whenever somebody searches for Neil, so I can test my trigger. So you can see somebody has tweeted about getting Neil a pen.
My friend Fernanda earlier this morning, yeah.
So now we can do things. So for instance, I can use Slack. I can send a direct message because I'm on the same Slack with Neil on the Wales Tech Founders. So I can connect a new account. I can pick a Slack. I'm not logged into the Wales Tech Founder one, so I'm just gonna.
Hopefully people can quickly see how very, very quickly you can start to automate that stuff. So, you know, with Zapier, there's a million and one different integrations here. So whether it's Twitter, Google, whatever. And I use it for, you know, I don't want to go monitoring Twitter and searching on Twitter every day for certain keywords. I would just get a ping via Slack, or I'll get an email about certain keywords. And that social media monitoring you were talking about, we use a thing called Mention. So there's lots of products that do this stuff automatically for free. So, but you'll see how, you know, this is Steph is building this now in front of your eyes, and it's really only taken a couple of minutes. So you might want to stuff for competitors' keywords or mentions of your own company. And it's really, really easy. I mean, you know, it'll take you a while to get used to it, but obviously a pro like Steph can whiz through it, but it's really not that difficult. Like, I'm nowhere near as technically minded as Steph is, but I can set these things up very, very quickly. And you'll just see now, whenever someone mentions me on Twitter, Steph gets a thing in her Slack. So, which I'm sure she's going to be deleting the second this call is over, because that's the last thing she wants. So yeah, you know, even it doesn't have to be mentions. It can be keywords. It can be anything, and you know, you can search for all sorts of things. So, last chance for any questions if anyone has any. But one thing I was interested in, Steph, is how I'm seeing these things that maybe you or I might have automated 5-10 years ago starting to become part of products. Like, so we were talking about email triage now. You know, Gmail Present almost does that for you now, doesn't it? Puts all the promotions in one folder. So it's you know, thankfully, you know, these more specific use cases we have to build for ourselves, but actually more and more of this clever automation is happening, you know, and I'm sure lots of other email clients do it as well. And it's good to see that level of automation happening that's saving us time. But yeah, there any? I'm trying to think of other examples of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's stuff like little things, really. Like in PowerPoint, this is great when I make marketing assets, because I know how to adhere to design rules. However, I am not a design person.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to talk about manufacturing, for instance, the design ideas uses AI to go through and produce
Great.
really good looking assets for me. And I can change this to like a 4:3 or 1:1 ratio, and immediately then save this as an image and get something from PowerPoint with no effort on my part to market my talk.
And I mean, I was blown away by the live Welsh translation. I didn't know that PowerPoint did that. I mean, that level of, that would have saved me lots of fretting over the years. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So
it's also helping us, and Twitter and Facebook and stuff are actually doing these things behind the scenes to be able to market to us better. But for instance, in PowerPoint, it's now it's trying to automatically generate alt text for us, workers in steel plant with ladle, so that then when we generate PowerPoints and PDFs and things, it's automatically more inclusive for people who use screen readers.
Gotcha. Great.
So there's automation using AI built into PowerPoint that is automatically making your work more accessible without you needing to do anything.
Fantastic. Yeah, this is I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of automation. Like I say, it's being an e-commerce. My business is e-commerce, so yeah, we use a lot of it. Otherwise, I'd spend half my time shuttling CSV files around and uploading them between different software. So, well, we leave it there. It's 10 to lunchtime. Thank you for attending, everyone. Steph, thank you so much for that. That was really useful. I've certainly given me some better processes to understand, like you say, that automate the needed but boring is now a catchphrase I'm going to use, because there are still needed but boring parts of our processes that we haven't automated properly yet, and I'm definitely going to really try and get my head around a bit better. So thank you so much. Steph, if you could stick on for 30 seconds afterwards, just for chat and wrap up. But thank you, everyone else. Your class dismissed. You are free to leave, and see you all soon. Take care.
Thank
Bye
you
bye.
all. Bye.